and also that an eventual new government in Egypt, which possibly incorporates the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Hamas is part of the Muslim Brotherhood, will try and advance the Palestinian cause in Gaza and end the siege on Gaza, because most people here regard Egypt as being part of that siege.
Well, for the moment there, Nicole Johnston in Rafah, thanks very much for joining us. Bahrain's Crown Prince confirms the unrest in his country has led to the cancellation of a major sporting event, and that's left Formula One scrambling to reschedule its season opening race. Those details, as well as all of the other sports news, still ahead on the programme.
As the rain pours over Johannesburg, we'll keep your spirits up.
Hello, we've got rather cloudy skies across Qatar at the moment. Northern parts of the Arabian Peninsula looking a little dull. We've got this thick band of cloud just making its way a little further westwards. There you can see Doha. We have got dry weather to come, hazy sunshine, and I think we should see temperatures starting to recover as we go on into the middle part of the week. So 25 Celsius for Doha and also for Riyadh. As that cloud makes its way further eastwards, it will warm up for Riyadh, so getting up to around 25 Celsius as those winds tend to come in from more of a southwesterly direction. Hazy sunshine for the most part, hazy sunshine too into Iran, but we've got some disturbed weather coming into Pakistan, some snow over the high ground, Afghanistan seeing the wintry mix as well. Come down into much of India, it's fine and dry, but for the south we will see some rather lively showers just around Chennai, pushing down into Tamil Nadu and also Kerala. Northern parts of Sri Lanka could also see some wet weather. Colombo with a top temperature of around 33 degrees. Coming to southern Africa, heavy showers still there just around the central areas. Coming down into Zambia, into Tanzania, into Mozambique. Northern parts of Madagascar also still seeing flooding rains. Further problems to come here. For the Amazon basin, again, it stays very disturbed. We have further flooding to come for Ecuador and also for Bolivia.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Welcome back. A reminder of our top stories here on Al Jazeera. An earthquake has killed at least 65 people in New Zealand. Rescuers are searching the rubble for more casualties in the second biggest city of Christchurch. The UN has accused Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi of using jet planes to attack protesters, but he's now appeared on television to say that he hasn't fled the country. More protests are expected on Tuesday, despite reports of random shootings by foreign mercenaries. Libyans say Gaddafi and his family must stand down. Let's go back to another story that we're following. Breaking news coming out of India that up to 31 men or individuals have been convicted over the killing of a number of people in 2002 on a train in Gujarat. For the very latest, let's go to Prana Suri with more of the details. The deaths of over 70 people caused not just chaos in Gujarat, but a great deal of communal violence between Hindus and Muslims. Just fill us in on the details.
Yes, Mariel, that's right. This is a very significant judgment in the context of what happened in 2002 in Gujarat. For the first time since that incident in 2002, a court in Gujarat has come out with a verdict, and they've convicted 31 men of burning a train. 63 of them significantly have been acquitted. Now, this has been this entire incident revolves around the burning of that train that you mentioned in your introduction in Godhra. The reason why this is so important is because this particular incident led to the worst communal violence in Gujarat. Over 1,000 Muslims were killed in that violence. Over 300 Hindus were also killed. And the point of contention in this particular case was that the right-wing Hindu government in Gujarat was saying that this was a pre-planned attack on this particular train. Civil rights activists were instead saying that this was a random act of violence and that many of these men were actually arrested without any particular charges. Now, the court has said that this was a conspiracy. It's confirmed that. This is expected to be appealed because this is just a lower court's judgment at the moment, and the quantum of punishment will also be decided later this month.
And of course, what are the reactions now in terms of how that verdict has been received?
Well, for the families of both the accused and the victims who burnt in that train, we visited Gujarat just a couple of weeks ago, and they were anxiously awaiting this verdict. It's taken 9 years for the courts in Gujarat to come out with any kind of a verdict. I suspect it may be coming up some relief for those who've been acquitted, but for those who've been convicted, it's going to take a few more months at least for their appeals to take place. The general sentiment in this country is that a lot more needs to be done in terms of the inquiry, and that's the sentiment at the moment.
Well, of course, you'll be following that story for us. Prerna, thanks very much for joining us. Political rallies in Bahrain continue unabated. On Monday night, demonstrations were held both for and against the government. An estimated 10,000 protesters gathered for another night at the Pearl Roundabout in the capital, Manama. The area has become a focal point for anti-government demonstrations and was the scene of violence last week that left 8 dead. Time now for all of the sport. Here's Stuart.
Yes, thanks. And the Formula One season will be starting 2 weeks late after the decision to call off the Bahrain Grand Prix, which was scheduled for the 13th of March. After a weekend of speculation, the Crown Prince finally announced the race would not be taking place amidst the continuing civil unrest in his country. Andrew Potter has more.
The Bahrain International Circuit should have been hosting the opening Grand Prix of the 2011 Formula One season in just under 3 weeks' time. Instead, these stands will sit empty as the country's political unrest makes its first major impact on the international sporting world. The decision came from the very top, the Crown Prince.
We felt it was important for the country to focus on immediate issues of national interest and leave the hosting of Bahrain's Formula One race to a later date.
Since its first running here in 2004, the Bahrain Grand Prix has been by far the biggest sporting event in the country, putting the tiny Gulf state on the international sporting map, and it's also a massive money earner for Formula One. Motorsport reporter Will Buxton has just returned from Bahrain.
It's an absolutely huge decision, and the Grand Prix has been the baby of the Crown Prince of Bahrain for some time. It was his love, it was his passion for the sport that brought it to Bahrain in the first place. So the decision on his part to cancel the race was a big one, but I feel the right one.
With so much cash and prestige at stake, there's already talk of rearranging the race towards the end of the season in November. But in Bahrain right now, nobody's looking that far ahead. Andrew Potter, AlJazeera.
The Cricket World Cup is now well underway, and defending champions Australia have started their latest campaign with a victory. Captain Ricky Ponting celebrated a record 40th Cup appearance with a 91-run win over Zimbabwe in Pool A. Andy Richardson reports from the Indian city of Ahmedabad.
Cricket's world champions may have been in town, but life was carrying on pretty much as normal in Ahmedabad. Organisers, it seemed, will struggle to fill stadia when one of the 3 host nations aren't involved. Australia v Zimbabwe, not quite catching the neutrals' imagination. Australia's batsmen were little more than steady in the opening exchanges. Shane Watson did break free from his early insecurities, but when he was trapped LBW for 79, and then captain Ricky Ponting was run out cheaply, Australia were wobbling somewhat on 140.